If I were to click on that and zoom in, you would actually see like a little polygon. And you could click on that polygon and it'll tell you the density of the population, what species it is. It'll tell you who the landowner is. It'll tell you how many years it's been treated, if it's been treated this year. This web map is primarily used by private landowners because throughout 6 counties, we have thousands of landowners who are involved in this program. This web map is also real-time updated as we are out in the field. Every time we spray a population, we update it on our maps out in the field, which updates this map for private landowners and public users all across this region. Now, you may see a lot of these little indicators that are dropped. These are also from the public. So sometimes you guys are out in those counties, in those areas more than we are. You guys are the ones that see new populations grow. So you can go physically to this map, you can drop a pinpoint of a new population that you've seen, and when we go out to do our retreatments, when we're in the area, we're gonna go and we're gonna map that population so that we have it and we start managing it in the following year. It's a really, really comprehensive web map. It's very easy to use, and it's definitely a great resource. You know, the yellow icons are the Phragmites. You'll see a couple blue ones, which are that teasel. Some of the pink ones up here, that's referring to Japanese knotweed. And then you have a gray one, which is just other species, which you see that are concerning, that you can write right in there, like this is what it is. It's a great tool. We use it daily to continue understanding the populations that are out there and how to best manage and control and, you know, plan our treatments for each summer that we're out there. You can also report infestations to the DNR at this website. It will actually take you directly to whether it's a terrestrial plant, whether it's an aquatic plant, and it'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to report that to the DNR so that they also have that in their database. You can also use apps. I use apps as well. iNaturalist is a great one. eBird is also a great one. These apps really help with early detection monitoring throughout, the country. You know, you could use this anywhere, really. I've used it in multiple different states when I saw something that I was like, I think that's bad. And I'm not sure what it is, but I'm gonna report it just because I want someone to be able to look at it and identify that. And lastly, volunteering. Volunteer with the Friends of Crescent Beach. Debbie's gonna come up here and talk about, you know, what they do and stuff, but I mean, go and volunteer with your local friends groups and your community groups. Do weed pull events, go plant trees with them. There are always events that are going on to help conservation efforts, and I really encourage you to go and participate in them. Because when you're really out there doing that work on the ground, you really feel that impact, and it's really important for us as well. I just wanted to give a quick kind of little slide here about different resources that you could contact in terms of managing invasive species on your own property. DNR website is always going to be a really great website to go to, just because they're going to have fact sheets. They're going to have, you know, specific time frames on when best to cut or when best to mow or when best to spray. They'll give you all the options. They'll give you all of the chemicals that you could use on those properties. They also have resources to, you know, walk through your property and kind of work with you on your area of land. Nonprofit organizations such as myself, definitely contact me. I also do walkthroughs with landowners just to kind of gauge what their invasive species kind of density and populations really look like and how we can maybe restore that habitat. I like to give resources to private consultants. There are many out here in this area. There are several up in Door County, which is your neighbor, and they're willing to help, you know, work with you to get some of these species controlled. Like I said, your local friends groups, go to them for resources. You know, they may send you to one of us, but they're there to help you. You know, talk with your county conservation departments. Here in Kewaunee, I believe that's Davina Bonas. She is the county conservationist. She's great. She's great to work with. I think she's out of the Luxembourg office. And she has great resources for you guys as well. She's in the area and she's helping out all the time. And then finally, go to your county lakes associations. They're very involved in protecting their wetlands here in Kewaunee County. So, you know, I do a lot of work with them as the AIS coordinator. I do a lot of monitoring of lakes, looking at invasive species within the water and river bodies. And they're always on top of invasive species resources and trying to figure out what kind of funding they can get to also provide assistance for that management. So these are all really, really great opportunities and resources that you can find online. You know, or after the talk today, if you want to grab my card on the table, please do. And take multiple, give them to people if you know of anyone. You know, just spread the word, because that's really how we continue to do our work, is by people talking about it. So lastly, I just kind of want to touch on collaboration. So obviously, collaboration is key to the success of controlling invasive species, especially in a regional area. You know, all of the LISBA members, we rely on each other for consistent outreach and education efforts. We support one another on our general and individual organizational projects and programs. We work together to create events to share our knowledge with the public. Recently, LISMA collaborated with the DNR to have an Emerald Ash Borer Field Day last week Wednesday, at Woodland Dunes Nature Center down in Manitowoc County in the Two Rivers area. We invited professionals from different sectors, from the government, private consultants, nonprofits, and we all just kind of collaborated and talked about the ongoing issue of dying ash trees and what to do with dead ash stands in wetland areas. It was a great, great field day. You know, it was maybe 3 hours, but we got to do a walk through a stand that had a lot of dead ash and how they were restoring the landscape to kind of, you know, manage moving forward and what to do with those ash stands and ash trees. And you know, we brought a person who has his own tree cutting, or the stump cutting, you know, company, and he's a great resource for when you've got tree stumps that are just hazardous and dead, that you just want out of the ground. And he does an amazing work, and he does it all by himself and one other guy, and he is all over the state. So he was awesome to talk to. Find those, you know, events and participate just to learn more. I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to kind of the work that all LISMA members participate in. So a lot of us nonprofits do a lot of the grant management and administration for a lot of these projects. The county is very helpful for finding funding sources and collaborating with kind of our smaller groups to see how they can help us complete some of that work that they maybe don't have time for. The Friends groups are fantastic for finding volunteers and actually getting on the ground and helping do the work. Friends of Crescent Beach are amazing. You know, they're out there cleaning the beaches and maintaining these invasives all the time. And we need friends groups like that. So, you know, work with them as well. And then I did want to still give a shout to Stantec as well. You know, there are technical professionals that are working with all of the permitting. They're the ones that help with intern supervision when they're out in the field spraying, just so that everything is going smoothly and efficiently as possible. So yeah, if you want to stay up to date with our work by joining our quarterly LISMA newsletters, it's just an e-letter that comes out every quarter. Please just get in contact with me, give me your information, I will put you on that list and you'll just start receiving them. I'm happy to do that. I usually do a recap of the quarter and talk about the next quarter events that are coming up that you can participate in. I also give resources. I'll do kind of a Control 101 for different species each quarter, and kind of talk in depth about an invasive species and you know, your resources and what you can do to control them as well. So really great resource for you guys that I would be happy to provide. So yeah, I gave my information out there. I'm much more receptive to email than phone call. I just want to let you know, but please call me if you need to as well. visit our website. We've got a lot of resources. Like I said, we're not only invasive species, we also do a lot of sustainable agriculture. We have a large grazing program, and we do forestry projects as well. So go check out all the stuff we do. It's really, really great work. Follow us on Facebook. There's a QR code right there. You can scan and just follow us right away. Or you can search under Glacierland RC&D. We will update Facebook very often and promote our events and our partner events through Facebook as well. So yeah, any questions? Yes.
So you mentioned the townships. The townships include the cities, like Algoma, Kewanee, or are they separate?
They are separate from the townships, but so they cover the city district. So there are still people that you can talk to. So townships and city districts, all of them can participate in this
So
program.
are the cities in Kewanee contributing?
No.
No.
No, they're not.
Okay.
I've had a lot of conversations today about that, so
Yeah.
we're hopefully going to work on
So I
that.
guess a group of us need to.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the way, spread the word, make it loud and clear to them that this is a problem and we want to get it managed.
Yeah, I guess
We want to help.
I was not aware that they are not contributing.
Yeah, and the city itself might be doing some work, but it is very low priority for many cities.
Yeah, and I mentioned spraying, and I guess with all the lawsuits and everything, none of the cities, the public works people, because they're afraid of long-term consequences.
Absolutely.
I think they pretty much stopped spraying.
Right, absolutely. And that's why we like to get in touch with them. We give formal presentations. We talk about herbicide. We talk all about what the risks are, but what the benefits are of it as well. Yes?
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about, particularly for private lands and stuff, the use of goats versus herbicides? I'm especially curious about, do herbicides need to be put on every single year continuously? And what about, is using goats more effective? Just what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so I will say I don't work directly with the grazing team, so I have a brief kind of understanding. A lot of these grazing opportunities are happening on or adjacent to farmland, and it's very effective. They release them out into those kind of invasive species pastures every year at a certain time of the year. I think when the fruit and seed are just starting to come out, because that's when they start really eating at it. I think we are very, very much seeing success in certain areas, but again, I don't know exactly where all those areas are, and we don't combine grazing with invasive species. Like, we're never gonna have, herbicide, we're never gonna spray a patch and then have goats go there. It may be like a last resort, kind of a final touch if the populations get so small to the point where it doesn't make sense to use goats anymore at a prolific kind of extent. Maybe then we'll go and do our last treatment with herbicide. But a lot of the times that's not happening because people who are involved in the goat grazing program don't want herbicide, which is why they've opted to use this program. Awesome. If you think of any questions, I'll be here until the end of the day at my booth. So please feel free to come up and talk to me, or else I will hand it off to Debbie.
Yes, that's me. Get over here. So I have no slides. So I'm Debbie Kiedrowski. For if I can read this without my glasses so I can see out into the audience. So I want to really say that Valerie did a phenomenal job of telling us why invasive plants, and especially right now Phragmites, are such a terrible incursion into our landscapes. If any of you have driven, and I'm sure everyone has, in Green Bay, and you drive and you see it, it's astounding how it has overtaken so much land. And if we don't take steps here in Kewaunee County and the other counties, we are going to look like that. So we really need, like Valerie said, we really need to approach our townships and our cities and push that they include it in their budgets. 20 years ago, if people had taken steps then, it would have cost so much less money and effort. Now we have forests of it, and when I drive around Kewaunee County, I see stands of it everywhere. And it's scary, and it's very detrimental also to our native populations. The birds, the animals that depended on our native plants now do not have a food source. So we need to be vocal. I was surprised. I thought Algoma was contributing, so I will be one of those vocal people. So anyway, that's my 5 cents worth. So volunteer organizations are really central to containing or stopping the spread of invasive plants. The cities, the counties, and the states do not have the funds on their own to do all the work. That's where the nonprofits, such as these, they're the ones out there looking for grants so that they can get the money so they can do the treatments. But also, the friends groups contribute a lot of the on-the-ground work. Like, some of the nonprofits are, besides Glacierland, there's Door County Invasive Species Team, Door County Land Trust that does a lot, Friends of Crescent Beach, Crossroads up in Sturgeon Bay, all have groups that are on the ground, you know, and they'll be doing pulling or they're doing planting. And it's very important work because they help fill the gaps in funding that funding doesn't cover. Keeping invasives in check requires a lot of labor, and people that have worked on my Crescent crew, I forgot to say, so I'm a member of Friends of Crescent Beach, and I'm the leader of Crescent Crew. So Crescent Crew is an organization that I started about 6 years ago because there was treatment done on the beach, and native seed and plants were planted. The following spring and summer, it was overgrown with non-native plants. So Kathy Pavich and I spent hours, especially Kathy more than me, pulling. And I thought, oh my goodness, we need help with this. And all the money and effort that went into trying to restore is going to go to waste. Because that's the thing with restoration projects. It's not once and done. It's once and multiple times afterwards. Because if, just like Valerie said, they sprayed, you know, they had a program for spraying for the Phragmites, but if you don't continue watching it, it's money down the drain. So you need to keep on top of it. So I started a group. We meet Tuesdays. We alternate mornings and afternoons, and we pull the invasives or dig the invasives. We do not spray because we don't have licenses, And it's really not in our venue to be able to do that. And it's been great. I mean, the first couple of years, we had bags and bags and bags of invasives that we would get to the landfill. Last year, we really saw for the first time that the native plants were taking hold. And there wasn't as much work to do, so that was great. So it is a lot of labor, but it's well worth it. You know, and the other thing is by volunteering or educating yourself, you learn what is a native plant. Like, I don't know how many times, like with Dame's Rocket, oh, isn't that such a pretty plant? It's an evil plant, but it looks pretty. The same with purple loosestrife, it's pretty. And a lot of these plants were brought in and planted in gardens because 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago, people didn't realize the danger that they were going to be down the road. Garlic mustard was actually brought in and planted in gardens for its taste. And actually, so anyway. By informing yourself of what are native plants and what are the invasive plants, I mean, in your own yards and gardens and fields, a lot of it you can handle on your own, or if it's huge stands, then you can contact different organizations and pay. And also you can educate others. So, you know, if I start out, we have maybe 15 active volunteers. Well, those 15 active volunteers have learned a lot about what are invasive plants, and then they're going to transmit their knowledge to others, so it spreads out. Oh, okay, where am I going? Okay, so here. So Valerie touched on this, but some of the reasons that invasive plants are why they spread. So one of the big reasons is they don't have a native predator. They don't have bugs or animals or birds that like to eat them. So they're not keeping the population down. I was in Italy, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, and we were doing a walk. And lo and behold, there was garlic mustard. But it wasn't a huge stand of it. It was a few plants here and a few plants there. It's native there, and it has predators, so it keeps it in check. A lot of them here, they start their growth early in the season before our native plants start. So they're shading out the native stuff. They have a big head start, and that's not a good thing. They're very prolific seed producers. And the seed can persist in the soil for years and years and years. So like with garlic mustard, you can pull it. Next year there's going to be more. The next year there's going to be more until you deplete the seed bank. And then also, once you get the seed bank down, then you want to start planting the native plants so that they can then outcompete the garlic mustard or the non-native. There's root systems that defy pulling. So like when animals graze, the roots, like some of these that go 10, 20 feet down, even when the animals are grazing, they're not going to pull the roots. So anyway, so by reducing the invasives, it gives a chance for the native plants to take hold and compete with the invasive species. Okay. Okay, so the positives of having an invasive control volunteer groups are, well, the knowledge you're transmitting. Also, actually being on the ground, reducing and eliminating invasives, learning what the control methods are for the different species. The volunteers then can spread their knowledge, though I have to say, sometimes knowledge, I can't walk through a landscape anymore without saying it. These guys here know it. I'm moaning and groaning about, oh no, there's garlic mustard, there's this, there's that. So knowledge is power, but it also can be painful. So that's pretty much it. I do recommend, there's a lot of resources out there. Valerie mentioned some of them. Another very good one is if you go to the UW Extension website and you Google managing invasive species, they have for all the invasive species, and this is just one on honeysuckle, 6 pages. 6 pages of how to identify it, how to get rid of it, where it lives. So it's a very, very good website. DNR has a great website. Part of the problem sometimes is you don't know what the plant is. So you have to ID it. So Google now has what they call Google Lens. Has anybody used Google Lens? Yeah. So if you go to Google, there's like a little square box with a dot in the middle. If you press that and take a photo, it'll ID what it is. And then once you know the name of it, then you can look it up and do more research. And there's a lot of different apps out there. I use Picture This also. It costs, but it is quite good. Once you know the name of the plant, then you can go to like the extension or the DNR. And I'm going to end with volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. If you can't volunteer, money is always welcome. Because there's a lot to do, and it's very, very, very important for a multitude of reasons. So Valerie and her group are doing good, very good work, and it's mostly a matter of educating people. And it's amazing, a lot of people still really don't realize how detrimental non-natives can be to everything. So anyway, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay, well thank you, and thank you for attending Bird City. The birds appreciate it.